War Eagle, and welcome to Ever to Podcast, our somewhat regular get-together in audio format to share and talk about the Auburn experience, which to us is all about a few things: Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it might be, though, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to be doing today here on Ever to Podcast, episode 19. Today's date is Monday, June 9th, 2025. And as always, I'm your host, Kyle Loomis. We have a lot to catch up on after this weekend, and a lot of it will be in the baseball realm, conversations around baseball, but also how you handle disappointments. We like to dive into some of those things here, things that aren't necessarily news, but are reactions and commentary that's happening in the Auburn fan space, either online or in person. And then we're actually going to talk a little bit about a quick Auburn soccer note that's pretty cool that you should be aware of as part of the Auburn experience here on episode 19. Let's get into it. Let's go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. We all know it, folks. Auburn baseball, the season has come to a close, sadly. I'm still processing all of it because it really felt like we were in a position, given how we performed the weekend before at the regional against very stiff competition. I felt that we would at least get a win, and if not, be able to make it to the College World Series in Omaha. That is sadly not the case. Your Auburn Tigers do fall to the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, the mythical chickens. And I say that just being a little funny. They were a great fan base and a great baseball program and a great team. So congrats to them for winning the Auburn Super Regional as the 13 seed over the 4 seed, a big upset. We'll see what they can do. I don't know if I'll necessarily be rooting for them since they knocked us out, but I do love a good underdog story, and they are certainly one of those right now, even though they themselves have won a College World Series recently. So we talked about this in great detail on the Auburn Experience podcast, our main show with myself and Austin. Episode 128 was broadcast last night. It's out everywhere now. If you're listening on this app, you've probably already had that downloaded to your phone, so make sure you listen to that as well for more detailed thing. But just to give you the bite-sized analysis, it is the biggest event of the weekend. It was an outstanding weekend outside of the loss, a little bit warm, let's just say that. But in terms of the venue, the crowds, the energy, the way that people showed up and showed out, stayed late through a rain delay on Friday evening for an exciting comeback for Auburn, you couldn't have asked for anything better. Other than Auburn winning. The great thing and the biggest thing of this weekend was the arrival, finally, of seats on the right field rooftop of the hitting facility, which has been long asked for, thought about, speculated about. This week began with some hints about it. The previous week did. And it came to fruition in a somewhat temporary format. I would probably say that they'll probably work on, if that's going to remain, a more permanent solution for that. But for throwing it up in a week and the views that you got of it, my goodness. Thank you to the Auburn Athletic Department for letting us up there a little bit early before the game to get some shots of it. We obviously were able to make it into the second game and be able to go up there and get some footage of that with crowds too. But if you want shots of that, they've been shared everywhere by multiple accounts, but we've got our own video and our own photos of what that view is like if you didn't get to experience. I think the sad thing is, yes, Auburn's done, right, with baseball. So many of you saw that, probably wanted to go up there and experience it for yourself, and you had such a short opportunity to do that with only guaranteed 2 games left in the season, and only 3 maximum, even if Auburn had won and moved on to College World Series. The view is outstanding. It continues to make Plainsman Park an envy for college baseball programs. It is a one-of-a-kind venue, and let's not even talk about those Auburn sunsets that go over the top of Plainsman Park. Oh, man, so good. Look, Auburn lost. Wasn't good. Very sad about it. I don't think we're in a place where we've fully processed it yet, because it did feel like we still had a lot of baseball left to play. The bats just didn't come along. Pitching, I thought, was okay at times, not necessarily as strong as it was the regional play and other times this year. But I thought Auburn was in position to win and just wasn't able to capitalize. It wasn't that Coastal handled Auburn in any way. It was simply we needed a little bit more out of the hitting, and unfortunately it just wasn't there. this weekend. Auburn baseball season has come to a close, and that is very, very sad. But we are so grateful and we are so thankful for Coach Butch Thompson, what he's put together, how he's helped the program bounce back so quickly. Never doubted it for a second, and neither should you. If you were part of that crew, well, you don't look good now. But here we sit. Auburn baseball season has ended, and for a lot of you, I know the majority of the athletics year kind of comes to a close. Don't forget, though, there's still track and field going on right now. Let me transition from that to something somewhat related, and that's conversations around disappointments with Auburn athletics and not getting the results you wanted. And look, I know I'm kind of just giving you my opinion about it. I can't control other people's reactions, but I think it's something that we need to talk about. And that's how you handle things either in person or online, how we think, how we talk about subjects of disappointment. And let's recognize that Auburn this year has had its fair amount of disappointment. It's not just disappointment of like the football team where they're just really underperforming right now and hopefully on their way back up. But, you've had men's golf close, but unable to defend their national title. Men's basketball back to the Final Four, is not able to get past that hump. You got a College World Series that was very surprising. Everybody got their hopes back up to get back to the College World Series and got to host your first Super Regional. It feels like you should be able to do that, and it doesn't turn out the way you hope. So this is kind of that notion of the Auburn being Auburn and how our AD and his staff have really tried to tackle that negative vibe of that and really dive into the positive of that, which I really love. But there's this constant battle between the negative side of the fan base and the more positive side of the fan base. And you don't necessarily have to find yourself skewed very strongly to one way or the other. Some of you choose to be on both sides of that. I tend to find myself on more of the positive things. That's what we preach here about. If you value the whole of the Auburn experience, it's not such a big thing. But this constant clashing on social media of, especially, and you find it on the negative sides of things, very brazen accounts that are anonymous, that there's not really any indication of who they are, what they are, and they can think they can say what they want to say without consequences. And it's just this overbearing thing of the sky's always falling. We're always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Folks, there are hundreds of teams that compete for this every year, and only one of them will be it at the end of the year. You're not the only ones that deal with disappointments in sports. And the fact that Auburn is as prominent as is in most sports is a blessing and something that we should be thankful of. Now, the other side of that, we had this conversation this weekend with someone. It was a very good conversation, not a confrontational one, about the concept of sunshine pumping. I think that's not good either. I think you can't just sit here and act like everything's hunky-dory and everything's just fine. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes things need to change. Sometimes things need to be adjusted. If it wasn't adjusted, we would be having another terrible Auburn baseball season. It was adjusted. Changes were made. Things weren't right last year. But you can't be so negative and become such a monger of negativity that you become this person of pointing towards what, is the most overused term in sports conversations, especially online. And that's where you can tell people are just hiding behind things. Sunshine pumping. Sunshine pumping, if that is what you're going to accuse people of, you're just kind of proving that you're a miserable person, at least in your online personality, social media, message boards, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to share the same opinion that I have with this, but it's just how I feel about it. And I see this conversation pop up a lot when there's a disappointing thing for Auburn. The reality is this. Life happens. Disappointments happen. It happens for your team. And yes, it is difficult when you watch your rivals have success that you wish your teams were having in other sports that aren't even related to what we're necessarily talking about here. But folks, just be good representatives of Auburn. Try to be a little bit more on the optimistic side of things, and I promise you that you'll live life a little bit more fulfilled as an Auburn fan and Auburn person. If you value the full Auburn experience, that'll help a lot too. Trust me. I've made that switch in my life, and that's why we do what we do here. Okay, let's talk maybe one quick note here about Auburn soccer. I think it is important for you to be informed in the Auburn experience. Auburn soccer is a great program starting a new year with Coach James Armstrong, a new era. But we're looking back to some of the previous players here. Alyssa Melanson, who you may recognize as one of Auburn's great players of the past several seasons under Coach Karen Hoppe, just got, as we talked about on the Auburn Experience, pulled up to the National Women's Soccer League, the pros for them now, and got her first opportunity with Bay FC. So she's been competing for a while, made the roster, and this weekend got her first professional goal. And you go, okay, Kyle, that's cool. Everybody gets a first goal, a first basket. But how about this? It's her first professional goal, which is her first game-winning goal, game-clinching goal. That is awesome. How many people can say their first bucket, goal, whatever, field goal, touchdown was the game-winning one in their inaugural season for their team? That's pretty cool. So congrats to Alyssa Melanson. She's great for Auburn soccer. We're happy to see her having success at the next level, and we're going to continue to follow her. It's something that you should be aware of. There's a lot of great Auburn representatives already at the pros that are just getting there in their respective sports. This is just one of them. That's why we like to talk about them here, because the Auburn experience doesn't stop once you graduate. We all know that. It continues on even after that till they put you in the grave, because the Auburn experience is just so wide and so reaching, and we want to cover every aspect of it. So that's going to do it for episode 129. We're not covering a lot of the stuff that we could have from this weekend. We'll do that on upcoming episodes. And I'm doing this one a little bit earlier today as well. So if you feel like we missed out on something, it's because we had to record a little bit earlier. That's why the audio is a little bit off too, because I'm having to record on the road. But thank you guys for being here, letting me rant a little bit and catch you up on some latest Auburn news and conversations on Ever to Podcast. We really appreciate you being here. Hit us up for comments, questions, either a direct message on social media or email us, e2cnetwork@gmail.com. And as always, subscribe and follow everywhere you can on audio, podcast, YouTube, and social media to keep up with us and the Auburn experience. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.